I mean, look at that. Wow. Oh my, that entire, wow, look at that. I mean, there were plenty of empty seats you could see on the television, but that did not tell the story. Look at that.
Those empty seats? That's not a bad camera angle. That's a fan base sending a message. 3,254 empty seats at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The lowest attendance of the entire Caitlin Clark era. And what makes it worse is how it happened.
They didn't tell the fans that Caitlin Clark was going to be out until an hour and 20 minutes before the game. We have been watching the tickets, right? We've been watching, and I've got responses from fans. This is just wild. And I've got the attendance. 3,254 empty seats.
Notification came down at roughly 4:30 p.m. Tip-off was at 7. The Indiana Fever waited until 2 hours and 20 minutes before game time to tell ticket holders that Caitlin Clark wasn't playing. People flew in from Montana. Resellers panicked. Tickets crashed to $8.35 on the secondary market and still didn't move.
Those tickets that I've been showing you, by the way, resellers had dropped tickets to $8.35. Something like that. $8, and they got down to $8.35. Didn't sell. Did not sell. People are angry. That announcer saying Gainbridge was sold out when I can see lots of empty seats where my own eyeballs is hilarious. Here is another person that was at the game.
The television broadcast didn't show you this. Fan footage did. Entire sections vacant. Upper bowl, lower bowl, courtside areas dotted with empty plastic. And the announcer on the broadcast called it a sellout. That word, sellout, is doing some heavy lifting right now in the WNBA. Tickets distributed is not the same as bodies in seats.
Ken Swift, I got messages from several fans who came a long way to see the game. I don't know what the Indiana Fever do now. I don't know what they do now. They were already having a hard time putting fans in the seats because of what happened last year. Now they've done it again. And something I need to bring up. If this is a legit back injury, although some people are very much speculating that this is a suspension because of what happened with the coach and Caitlin Clark the other day, we've all sat back. We've known something's going on with the back. And we'll get to Stephanie.
Stephanie White faced the media after the game. The official explanation: Clark woke up with stiffness and soreness, didn't practice the day before, got treatment instead. The team decided it wasn't worth the risk. That's the narrative they're selling, and there's a clear problem with it.
That didn't tell the whole story. Check this out. Stephanie White says Caitlin Clark did not participate in practice yesterday, getting treatment instead. She woke up with stiffness. For us, it's not a time to take the chance. She said she doesn't anticipate it being ongoing, but adds she's not a doctor. No shit. She's healthy. We're not managing anything. She's healthy. This is a back issue that we want to make sure we give her plenty of time to be ready.
Read those two statements back to back. She's healthy. We're not managing anything. This is a back issue. We want to give her plenty of time to be ready. Those sentences cannot coexist. If she's healthy, you're not managing a back issue. If you're being cautious about a back issue, she isn't fully healthy. Pick one. You can't have both.
This was put out. This notification at this time violates the league rules by almost a full day of reporting. WNBA teams must report information concerning player injuries, illnesses, medical conditions, or rest for all WNBA games by 5 p.m. local time the day before the game. Teams must designate a participation status and identify specific injury, illness, or other condition, medical condition, or other reason for a player whose participation in the game may be affected for any reason. For the second game of a back-to-back, teams must report by 1 p.m. local time. of the game. They didn't. It was way late. I think it was nearly 4:30. Day of game.
And then there's the rule book. WNBA injury reporting policy requires teams to disclose participation status by 5 p.m. local time the day before the game. For a back-to-back, the deadline shifts to 1 p.m. the day of. The Fever's notification came roughly an hour and a half after that 5 p.m. cutoff. That's not a clerical miss. That's a violation that protected ticket revenue at the direct expense of the people who already paid. The pattern matters here. Last season fans dealt with the same routine. Game time decisions, day-to-day language, vague status updates that maximized sales and minimized transparency. Fever fans were told this year would be different. Wednesday's announcement told them it isn't.
I got messages from several fans who came a long way to see the game at Indiana Fever. Do your fans a service, give them as much notice as possible. In situations like this, especially in this economy, they made a point. They made a point to not tell people because they wanted to maximize ticket sales. That's scumbag shit. Well, this effing sucks. I flew in from Montana for tonight's and Friday's game.
This is a fan base that came in with goodwill. They bought the merchandise. They drove across state lines. One supporter flew in from Montana for a 2-game stretch. Another said her wife and friends went to the game and left furious. The common thread in every reply. This isn't about Clark being out. It's about not being told until they were already locked in. And the broader business problem is real. The WNBA is not the NBA. Load management nearly broke the NBA's regular season product, and that league has decades of established demand to absorb the damage. The WNBA's demand spike is 20 months old. It's tied almost entirely to one player. The margin for alienating paying customers does not exist here.
And it probably got a lot worse. The Fever won the game. It was that drawn-out, boring half-court crap that's tough to watch. Ty Harris started the game, played 29 minutes, scored 0 points. Kelsey, 6 of 11, 21 points. Aaliyah Boston, 8 of 11, 24 points. They won the game. But it was a tough watch. And, by the way, this Portland Fire team is horrendous.
The game itself didn't help. Final score went Indiana's way. Kelsey Mitchell put up 21 points on 6 of 11 shooting. Aaliyah Boston went 8 of 11 for 24. Ty Harris started, played 29 minutes, finished with 0 points. Against a Portland Fire expansion roster that's among the weakest teams in the league, the Fever produced a slow, choppy half-court grind. Even with the win banked, fans who paid full price watched a product that looked nothing like what they bought a ticket for.
Jason Whitlock, after injuring and destroying their Golden Goose in year 1 and 2, the WNBA changed the way games are officiated under the pretense of, quote, freedom of motion. They changed the rules after damaging their meal ticket. Clown show. Fire everyone. I said, can you imagine if this was the Cowboys, Eagles, Yankees? National and local media would be asking a lot of uncomfortable questions. This local media won't do it. They won't do it. Sorry. That's what y'all look like, is a bunch of benign tumors with microphones, laptops, whatever it is you're trying to do. You've got to ask the tough questions. Are you noticing empty seats? Blah, blah, blah. You noticing the drop in ticket prices? Blah, blah, blah.
Here's the part that should concern every WNBA executive watching this unfold. The local Indianapolis press corps had a layup of a story sitting in front of them and didn't take it. No tough questions about the timing of the announcement. No follow-ups about the contradiction between healthy and back issue. No pointed inquiries about the league reporting rule. Nothing. If this were the Cowboys, the Yankees, the Lakers, the national press would have spent 48 hours dissecting every word of that statement. Beat reporters would be pulling the league rulebook on camera. Columnists would be writing about institutional trust. Instead, the Fever's media coverage reads like a press release with quotation marks added. The reason isn't mysterious. Access. Beat writers depend on locker room availability, one-on-one interviews, off-record conversations with team officials. The moment a reporter starts pressing hard on uncomfortable subjects, that access tightens. So the questions get softer, the framing gets gentler, and the organization faces no real accountability from the people closest to the story. That dynamic is how you end up with an announcer calling a game a sellout, while 3,000 seats sit empty in plain view of every camera in the building. Now think about what this means going forward. The Fever have already burned trust once. They've now done it again, on a national broadcast week, against an expansion opponent. With a stadium full of out-of-town visitors, the fans paying attention are learning a lesson the front office should have learned in 2024. When you treat your audience like a revenue source instead of a relationship, the audience eventually stops showing up. And the speculation is going to fill the vacuum the team created. Some are already suggesting this wasn't an injury at all, but a quiet suspension connected to the situation between Clark and the coaching staff earlier in the week. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying the organization built the environment in which that theory becomes plausible. Transparent teams don't get accused of secret suspensions. Teams that hide information do. The CBA negotiations are happening in the background of all of this. Players are pushing for a bigger revenue share. The league is pushing back. Every empty seat in Indianapolis weakens the players' leverage because revenue projections depend on demand being durable. Demand that evaporates the second one player misses a game is not durable. It's a spike. And the front offices around the league should be terrified of that. So the question for fans, and I want to hear your answer in the comments. Would you buy a Fever ticket right now, knowing what just happened? Knowing the team will sell you a seat and tell you 2 hours before tip-off whether the player you came to see is going to be on the court? Because the answer to that question is the answer to the WNBA's growth ceiling. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Tell me in the comments whether you think this was a real injury, a suspension, or load management dressed up in medical language. And tell me whether the Fever can rebuild trust with their fans before they lose them for good. I'm out. Until next time.